Do you work or are you a student?
I am currently a student. I am working on my master's degree in Australia and I don't have a job yet.
What subjects are you studying?
I am studying Master of Arts in Cultural Management. It's aimed at, it's sort of a combination of art and business.
Question 3. Do your friends or family like using social media?
Well, I guess in terms of my friends, because they are probably the same age as me, so we tend to use social media platforms a lot because we kind of grew up with the internet. But in terms of my family members, I don't think they use social media a lot because, for example, my grandparents, they don't have that kind of habit. So yeah.
When did you start using social media?
I started using social media a long time ago. I think it's almost like 10 years ago. And at that time, a lot of social media apps were quite trending, like Instagram and Weibo.
Thank you for your response. Here's the next question. Question 5. Do you think you spend too much time on social media?
Well, yes, I think nowadays, especially, I spend too much time on social media, like especially when the days when I don't have too much work or study load compared to the past when I did have a lot of study load. I have to do a lot of assignment, and nowadays that I kind of have more free time, I use social media a lot to kill my time.
Do you often feel bored?
Yeah, I think nowadays I tend to feel bored more often than the past because nowadays I don't like my schedule is pretty loose and I could flexibly do things that I like in a day. So sometimes I just don't know how to do with my time, and that's when I usually feel bored. Yeah.
When would you feel bored?
I would say in a day I tend to feel bored mostly when I'm doing dishwashing, laundry, or some household chores, because at this time you have to focus on the tasks and it's kind of boring, it's repetitive, so I think I tend to feel bored a lot when I'm doing these household chores, that kind of stuff.
Part 2. Describe a job that you do not like to do. You should say what it is, how you know about the job, whether the job is difficult or not, and explain why you would not like to do it.
So there are actually a lot of jobs that I would not like to do because I just don't like working. But anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is being a journalist. And the reason why I don't like to be a journalist is because I have interned as a journalist and it doesn't really live up to my expectations. So I did intern as a journalist for almost half a year, and that's obviously how I knew about the job. And to be honest, it wasn't difficult for me because I studied communications at universities and it kind of fit me really well. And I was actually going to be a full-time journalist when I was graduating, but in the end I just quit for, I think, various reasons. So the first one is that I don't really have too much leisure time. So unlike the 9-to-5 job, being a journalist doesn't really require me to work for 8 hours a day. But also, being a journalist means that I have to keep an eye on what is happening every day, like what is trending, what's everybody focusing on. And that is kind of frustrating for me because it basically means when everybody else is having a holiday, when they are having fun, I was still working on my computer. So that's the first reason. And secondly, being a journalist doesn't require me to go to the office every day, which I thought would be great for an introverted person like me. But actually, like, when I really started to live that kind of lifestyle, I just realized that going to the office and meeting people, meeting colleagues, and having social connection is really important for my mental health, because being a journalist, I could stay at home for almost a week without going out, and it didn't provide me with the kind of routine that a normal 9 to 5 job would give me. And so I would say that being a journalist isn't the same as what I had thought. So I would definitely not choose to be a journalist in the future.
Part 3, question 1. Do many people in your country feel the same about this job?
Well, I think it depends. So for most people, especially the young people who are still in university and they haven't worked yet, they might still have unrealistic expectations about being a journalist. For example, they might still think it's a kind of fancy job, it's ideal job. But I think for people who have already worked for years, for ages, they might have like realistic perspectives on being a journalist, and they might think the same as me.
Question 2. What kind of jobs do young people like to do in your country?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So the first one that comes to mind is the kind of jobs that has really great wages and is very close to money. So for example, the jobs in the finance industry, because it pays really well and young people can earn a lot of money by doing this, so it's popular. And the second kind of job that comes to mind is stable jobs, for example, government officers. And this kind of job is also very popular among young people, because nowadays the job market has really hit competitions, and a lot of young people would prefer jobs that could give them a sense of security. And so yeah, I think these two types of jobs are very popular among young people.
What motivates people to work hard?
Well, that's very interesting, and I think there are multiple reasons why people work hard. So the first one I can think of is definitely money, and that's very reasonable, because work is very important in sustaining a person's livelihood. So the kind of wages that can motivate people to work hard. And the second one I can think of is promotions, like the kind of career path that the company is offering you. And usually I think big companies have that kind of system. And also I think some people would work hard for a sense of fulfillment. And by this I mean some people would really value the aspect that if they are really creating or adding value to other people's lives or the society, like whether they are really making a difference or not. And that's a very important driving factor.
Question 4. Do you think some people are naturally more hardworking than others?
Well, that is actually very tricky. I have never thought of that, because I'm not an expert on human development or stuff like that. But I guess some people are naturally more hardworking. For example, I think some children in the kindergarten, they can showcase a kind of ability to work harder than other kids at school. So I guess it is true, but also I think some people are trained to work harder. For example, if they go to very strict schools and they had a lot of strict schedules and very heavy study load, and their teacher probably taught them some methods to focus on working hard, and I think that's probably another reason why people work hard. But yes, in general, I think there are definitely people who are naturally more hardworking than others. Actually, I think I am one of those people. So yeah, that's how I see this question. But actually, I really don't have any knowledge about it.